What can you learn from the spring game? Nothing and also some things.
It would have been the first touchdown of the game, but it's two-hand tap, so it's like the second they even got it, they were like, all right, everybody stop.
Nobody hit him.
Nobody do anything. Jeremiah, are you okay? Do you need another $10 million? They're bandaging him with $100 bills at this point. Ohio State's spring football game was Saturday. About 40,000 plus ended up in attendance. The scoring, I don't even remember how they had it set up. It was a little bit different. Offense was as you would expect. Touchdown is 6 points. You have your extra point, your field goal. All that stuff's the same. Defensively, they had it set up to where if you had like a defensive turnover, you got X amount of points. If you got a 3 and out, you got this amount of points. It was set up like that. The defense ended up winning the day, 35-26. But I want to break down some of the guys that I felt really comfortable with walking out of the stadium on Saturday.
Because I think that's really where the spring game gives you an opportunity. We talked about this last year as well. We've talked about this every year. What can you learn from the spring game? Nothing and also some things. It depends. It depends on what it is. And so one of the big things is going to be guys that predominantly, second and third string guys. That's like, oh, wow, like this guy took a really good step. So Bryson Cusdall was that last year for Michigan spring game. And obviously that did matter. They didn't get the win, but that did matter at the end of the season last year for Michigan. So yeah, who's sticking out to you from Ohio State?
I think you're 100% right. For the spring games nowadays, I feel like this year more than most, I could actually learn a lot from it because you've got a new play caller and Arthur Smith coming in. So I wanted to kind of see what plays they were going to draw up. That kind of vibe. Then I wanted to see, just because of the experience on the defensive side of the ball, I wanted to see how some of these depth pieces were going to play. We got a brand new kicker this year. I wanted to see how he was going to perform. And there were obviously some freshmen that were coming out that you would have liked to see. Some you didn't get the chance to. But there were a couple of guys that stood out. One, very, very obvious, Chris Henry Jr.
Yep.
I mean, 4 receptions, 96 yards and a touchdown. Showed every single bit of what you would expect from a guy like that. He's next up. He's going to be a solid contributor this year. He would be wide receiver 1 on probably a majority of other Division I programs. The guy, if he can stay healthy, is just going to be a force. He's somebody you're going to have to game plan for.
Will he be, and I know that there's like the X and the Y and the Z and all that stuff, but like just on the depth chart, is he considered wide receiver 3?
I think he's wide receiver 2.
So obviously Jeremiah, and then would you have him over like a Brandon Inniss?
I would have him over Brandon Inniss 100%. What I think, and I don't love saying this because I am rooting for Brandon Inniss, but there's been a lot of talk out of spring practice about a dude named White Lightning, Brock Boyd. He's another true freshman wide receiver, 3-star guy from Texas. Who's just been putting on a show. There are clips of Davison Igbinosun. I don't know if you saw this. Davison Igbinosun, known trash talker, love him. Holding his phone, something he does really well is holding things. And he's going. I knew you'd appreciate that.
That might be a better burn than anything I've given on this podcast.
I know you would like that one. But he's holding his phone, and Jermaine Matthews is matched up with this guy, and he's kind of being a little disrespectful to Brock. And he's going, all right, it's this city versus where's this guy from? And then they had to tell him, and Jermaine Matthews gets absolutely cooked. Jermaine Matthews is a vet on the team, one of the expected leaders of our secondary. Gets absolutely cooked in the end zone for a touchdown, and Brock Boyd hears this, runs over and starts trash talking Davison Igbinosun. I mean, the vibes were just immaculate. This guy's just been putting on a show. There's a lot of fire to his name. I honestly think Brandon Inniss is in competition with him. I think you're looking at a realistic situation where you might have, obviously, clear-cut Jeremiah Smith, wide receiver 1. Yeah. Chris Henry, to me, is clear gap between 2 and 3 there. And I think Brandon Inniss is going to be struggling to get a spot with if the stuff with Brock Boyd turns out to be true. He had a decent day as well. This is kind of the put up or shut up year for Brandon Inniss.
For sure.
He's one of those guys that I just hope can turn it around. I know Jeremiah Smith and himself both came out and were like, this is my last year to prove that I'm a round 1 guy. I mean,
well,
technically you're not wrong.
Obviously, I'm coming at this from the Michigan side, so I'm looking at purposely through maize and blue lens here. But I've said now, at least for the last year, heading into last season, and then I would maintain, ain't nobody worried about Brandon Inniss.
No, and that's what
it doesn't, and it's not even about because you got to worry about Jeremiah Smith, and this will get I have not seen anything from Brandon Inniss that makes me think, yeah, this dude has it.
No, Brandon Inniss to me is
like a late round draft pick flyer. Sure, maybe, I don't know, but
he could. I think that's the ceiling for me.
If I'm no defenses are going to be like, guys, we really got a game plan because if we're bracketing off Jeremiah, we got to do that. Then it's going to leave Brandon Inniss open. Nobody's worried about that.
No.
The same way nobody was worried about Samaj Morgan last year.
Well, and I hope
or
that
the
this
year before
season,
that.
I hope
God
this
love him.
season is wrong. I hope that he comes out and really balls out. But and I don't want to spend a ton of time on Brandon Ennis because there were so many other stars of the show. But he's the guy that I genuinely think is fighting for his job right now. Some other guys that I thought really impressed, and I do this. This feels similar to what I would have said last year with Bryce Underwood. And so I want to preface before I get into this and seem like I'm really, really hyping him up. Tavian St. Clair. This is a guy that a lot of people were hyped up, obviously, coming out of last year. We knew he wasn't going to be starting day one. He's not going to be starting this year. But next year, it's his team to lose, in my mind. And so you're looking at this guy really thinking, okay, what does the future of Buckeye football look like? And the potential's there. I mean, the guy's got a big arm. He's a big-bodied quarterback. Ohio State's been successful with those kind of guys. You saw it with Cardell Jones. You saw it with Will Howard. You had it with Craig Krenzel back in the day. These are the kind of prototype quarterbacks that have done well in this system. Tavian St. Clair ends up making some huge explosive plays. He was 9 of 21 for 166 and a touchdown. 2 of those passes that he completed were pretty lengthy passes. One was for 40-something yards to Chris Henry for a touchdown, and I want to say another one was a 30-something yarder that I think went to David Adolph. And so the passing stats are what they are, right?
It's a spring. This is again where, and I'm going to come back to this in the missions I do. It's a spring game.
Yeah,
I'm not worried about
what
your
you can
stat
learn
line.
is he has a little bit of problems with the accuracy.
Sure, yeah.
9 of 21 is not great. However, he had a cannon. There were some really nice throws where I looked at this guy and I thought, okay, this is a spring game. The running back room was a little bit dry for the start of it, so I knew they were going to be passing heavy anyways. I felt not like I wanted him, obviously, to start, but I looked at him and went, okay, you know what? Give him another year to learn the system, get adjusted, stay in the weight room, get some of these younger guys like a Brock Boyd, like a Chris Henry, let him get some more reps with them. I feel good. I really like the potential I saw from him. The last thing that really impressed me here, I loved the play calling. This was something that I know a lot of people last year specifically seem to be frustrated with, is the lack of involvement with our wide receivers. The Miami game, it was like massive tight end sets to try and run the ball up the gut. I mean, it was the same thing that cost us the Michigan game 2 years ago. I totally switched it up with Arthur Smith calling the plays. Right off the rip, they're giving the ball to Jeremiah Smith. Some of the stats obviously aren't inflated because of what it was, but there was a pass early on, I want to say the first or second drive with Julian Sain where he connected with Jeremiah Smith, and it's a clear touchdown. I mean, it would have been the first touchdown of the game, but it's two-hand tap, so it's like the second they even got it, they were like, all right, everybody stop.
Nobody hit him.
Nobody do anything. Jeremiah, are you okay? Do you need another $10 million? And so
can we get you anything? Water, cheese stick, $10
they're
million?
bandaging him with $100 bills at this point. So I like to see him get involved early. I'm glad they didn't shy away from that. Julian Sain looked as advertised. I mean, he's the same guy you saw last year. Really comfortable on the pocket, really accurate. He made some nice throws. I also really liked, he actually did utilize his feet some, which I thought was a necessary thing. We don't need Julian Sain to go out there and be this dual threat quarterback.
Because he's not going to.
And he never will be. Where he thrives is when the pocket is clean and he can step up into a throw and deliver an accurate ball. That's all we really need. But if the ground is open and you got to make a play, I want to feel confident that you're going to recognize that and go.
Exactly right.
He started to do that, so I'm fine with it. Now to the concerns.
Okay.
Because
I haven't enjoyed, so far, I have enjoyed very little of this conversation.
So as much as
it's like, hey guys, Ohio State's good again. Well, that's
and
great.
I think that's going to be the case. Shocker alert. But there still were some questions that I had. And some of this was due to injury, where you had guys like another highly recruited freshman coming out, Legend Bay. He's a dude that's been making noise.
What a great name also.
Honestly, put him in the Hall of Fame already. Retire the jersey. But he's a guy that if you and there's been speculation with Ohio State and the number 2 jersey. Look at the guys who have worn it in the past. They don't really just give that number to anybody. It's what he's rocking as a true freshman. And so you're hearing a lot of hype about this guy. He's had some hamstring issues, I believe, so he hasn't been practicing. So he didn't touch the field. So the first thing I'll start off with was the running back room. Obviously, you've got Bo Jackson. You have Isaiah West. Those guys are going to be fine. I'm not confident in Isaiah West as a running back 1. I think he's a good complement back. So if Bo Jackson goes down, now I'm really starting to get a little concerned here, because outside of that, there wasn't really anything that really stood out to me.
Well, if last year, now, and again, I'll grant you that obviously Bo Jackson's ascension was objectively, obviously not from the Michigan side, but objectively was like a very cool story, right? To come in as RB3 and a freshman and kind of make your way into the RB1 slot. But I'm also looking at it, and I said this last spring, where I said, yeah, this running back room is not going to be very good. And specifically talking about CJ Donaldson and I already forgot his name.
James Peoples?
Sure, yeah. That's a person. That's a Peoples.
That's a Peoples.
If you will. Wow, I hate this podcast.
It's awful. We're in prime season 4.
But I was not impressed with either of them, and clearly I was right. And so if you're Isaiah West, I'm like, you were 4th on that depth chart with that I'm not concerned about Isaiah West. Well, I guess that's what I'm getting at.
But you can also make the point of like CJ Donaldson and James People were ahead of Bo Jackson, and there was a clear gap when you saw him on the field. And I think I was one of the people that early in the season last year, I'm like, it's got to be Bo. And I know preseason, I was all in on the CJ Donaldson train. I fell off that thing quick.
Bo Jackson's a really good running back. I think he's going to be good. All that to say, I would echo and maybe even put a little more concern on, I'm still not sold on the Ohio State running back room, even if I'm sold on Bo Jackson.
The thing that makes me not ready to be like, throw the caution flag up and let's be really nervous about this is...
Isn't that what this is? Didn't you say this is a concern? This is literally a segment where you wave the caution flag.
No, only because Legend Bay has been dealing with injuries, and I think that he, going into that running back room, adds another piece of explosiveness to it. So it's hard to say because I haven't seen him on the field, and it's also hard to say because I haven't seen him on the field.
Fair enough.
So
yeah, sure.
That's my one thing that I stood out. Another thing, really basic, the kicking game. That was what last year...
Love it.
Haunted us. The year before, phenomenal, but still in the Michigan game haunted us.
What about the 2022 season?
My worst memories are all relating to kicking
Ohio
problems.
State's kicking, yeah.
So if we could find one that could just do it, that would be awesome. So Connor Hawkins comes in, he nails a 46-yarder. Everybody goes, oh man, this is great. We got a guy that can nail almost 50-yarders. Then he hooks a 43-yard one. And everybody goes, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, this is awesome. This is perfect. Exactly what we want. And so let's hope that we don't have to rely on that again. I mean, it is what it is. What can you really take away from that? He can nail some, he also can't. Same story to me. The last thing that I think is really the biggest issue to me is offensive line depth. And I've got another one after this, but it's more of a question that I had walking out of Saturday versus a concern. The offensive line depth, you had Phillip Daniels and Austin Searfeld both hurt. That meant Carter Lowe had to come in and take some snaps. He was the one that gave up a sack to Kenyatta Jackson. He also allowed pressure from Bo Atkinson that forced Julian Sayin to scramble. Julian did score on that play, the one touchdown he did have, but it's not where he thrives, and so he struggled. And he's the clear-cut number 2 guy in line should they have to make a replacement. So I didn't walk out of there loving any of the depth rotation. I love the starting group that's going to be out there once healthy. I feel comfortable with that. They're experienced. But it's the backups that I'm going, okay, if something happens, which the past couple of years has, now I'm a little bit anxious around it.
That's what you see, right? I mean, one of the... Not only is are the teams that... tending to win championships. Not only do the teams that win championships tend to return a lot of veteran players, but I mean, championship teams have depth. It doesn't matter what the sport is. You've got guys behind your guys. And so, yeah, I think, and especially, I mean, we've talked about this before where, you know, whatever you want to think about Jim Harbaugh, he nailed it when he said, hey, what's the one position in football that does not rely on any other position to be great, but everybody else relies on them? It's offensive line. Like, it starts and stops there. Your run game, your pass. I mean, everything starts and stops with your line. And so if that does become a depth issue, that's going to become a depth issue.
Yeah. The last thing that I walked out of Ohio Stadium being like, okay, well, I'm just curious on this because I don't know if I have it answered yet. Obviously, the defensive side of the ball is, to me, going to be the biggest question mark all season because you know what you got on the offensive side. But you're losing 2 of the most detrimental pieces. You're losing Sonny Styles. You're losing Caleb Downs, guys that are clear-cut, not only elite talent. I mean, they're going to go most likely top 5, if not top 10
Arvell
for sure.
Reese.
You got Arvell Reese, but I'm more so talking from a leadership standpoint because Arvell Reese, phenomenal, elite talent, going to probably be a top 3 pick unless something drastic changes, which it probably already did while we're recording this. You're losing 2 guys that were clear-cut, smart, intelligent football players that were the vocal leaders of this defense. Who is stepping up and replacing that? I don't know if I see somebody right now that I'm going, that's the clear cut. That's the guy that gets the defense.
Yeah.
That's going to be able to make the adjustments. That's going to be able to point people where they need to go. There's a lot of talent on this roster, especially on the defensive line. You got Zion Grady. You have Kenyatta Jackson returning. Edric Houston. Bo Atkinson's going to be good. You got Riley Pettijohn as a linebacker that I think is going to be a stud. You have a lot of talent. I don't know if I've seen a clear-cut defensive captain, a guy that you're going to go out there and all the guys' eyes are going to be looking at this guy when the going gets tough on what they need to do to lock down. Last year, you had two of those guys. They could have looked at Sonny Styles and he would have been the right person. They could have looked at Caleb Downs and he would have been the right person. Who is that guy going to be for the Buckeye defense this year? I don't know, but they're going to have to figure it out.
And my guess too is that, a lot of that stuff is going to emerge out of fall camp and stuff. I mean, there's so much that's going on behind the scenes for whether it's Ohio State or Michigan or any program. There's so much going on behind the scenes that you don't get to see. And I don't know how much of that leadership are you going to see during a spring game anyway. Who knows? The Rivalry Podcast is part of the Varsity Network from Learfield and the River Podcast Network from River Radio Ministries.
New episodes out every Monday.
Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're listening right now, and follow on social media at RivalPod and RivalPod.com.
And if you like what you hear, share with a friend so they can listen too.